They handed me a glass award shaped like a potato chip and clapped like someone had just won second place at a local bake-off. 10 amazing years, my director grinned, pressing the plaque into my hand like it was a consolation prize. The barcode sticker was still stuck to the back. "You've been such a bridge," he said, "especially with our Tokyo partners." I smiled politely, the way you thank a stranger for offering you expired coupons. For a decade, I hadn't just translated Japanese, I'd translated culture, expectations, and tone. I once prevented a $2.3 million disaster when a junior executive confused "in development" with "ready for shipment." But sure, clap, smile, award, next. Then came the quarterly meeting. The budget report flashed across the screen. My brow furrowed at a line item. 3 business-class Tokyo trips in Q2. Odd, I wasn't involved in any of them, and I always coordinated Japan visits. So I raised a hand. Quick question, are those Tokyo trips internal, or were they client-facing? I didn't see them on the calendar. Silence. Eyes darted. One person coughed. My manager clenched his jaw. "No worries," he said lightly, clicking ahead. "We'll circle back." And just like that, the room chilled. I nodded like I was still engaged, but inside, I was dissecting the moment like bad sushi. It wasn't just the tension, it was the eye contact that didn't happen. The VP of operations, who used to call me the Wizard of Nuance, suddenly found his notepad fascinating. And then there was Jacob, the new guy, barely 26, fresh off LinkedIn and practically vibrating with eagerness, glancing my way like he knew something I didn't. That's when it hit me. They were circling the wagons, and I wasn't inside the ring. If you've made it this far and this sounds like the kind of boardroom drama that makes your coffee taste better, I have one ask. Hit that subscribe button. 97% of folks don't, but it helps this channel more than you know. No long ads, no sales pitch, just good stories and sharp justice. Back in the meeting room, the slides kept rolling. KP is, culture goals, sales growth, but I wasn't listening. I was doing the math. 10 years of late-night calls, emergency fixes, and last-minute cultural rescues. And they thought they could cut me out without a cost. Let's see how that goes. How many times had I stepped in mid-meeting to explain that "hi" in Japanese often means "I hear you," not "I agree"? But suddenly, none of that mattered. Something was being set in motion, and I could feel it. Quiet, calculated, and I wasn't part of it. Later that afternoon, Jacob stopped by my desk with an awkward, overeager grin. "Hey," he said, "I might be joining some of the Tokyo Zooms next week. Just a couple. Shadow you a bit. Learn the ropes." I stared at him. Jacob's Japanese vocabulary stopped at ramen and Nintendo. But he wore a button-down and had that kind of LinkedIn swagger companies confuse with potential. Clearly, someone had plans for him. "Sure," I said evenly. "Just don't try to improvise. Tokyo doesn't bluff." He laughed, assuming I was joking. I wasn't. Back at my desk, I refreshed my inbox. One new invite, Japan Logistics Review. I wasn't on it. Jacob was. So was my manager. I wasn't even CC'd. I blinked, my screen blurred. The glass plaque on my desk suddenly looked like a tombstone. Within a week, my calendar was gutted. No more Tuesday syncs with the Tokyo team, no prep calls with Keiko before quarterly reviews, no feedback loops on translation adjustments. It was like someone had surgically extracted me from the operation, without anesthesia. At first, I blamed Outlook. That platform throws tantrums like a toddler. But then I passed conference room 3B. Jacob was inside, nodding enthusiastically at a screen filled with names he couldn't pronounce and kanji he couldn't possibly read. I tapped the glass and stepped in. "Hey," I said, scanning the screen. I caught a glimpse of Keiko, our logistics lead in Tokyo. "Did this meeting get moved?" Jacob blinked. "Oh, I think they just wanted to consolidate things. Streamline. That word again? Corporate code for we're replacing you with something cheaper and less qualified." I smiled without my eyes. "Great. Just flag anything urgent about customs declarations. Last time someone put the declared value in yen instead of US dollars. It almost got seized." Jacob nodded like he understood. He didn't. Back at my desk, I reopened the shipment email chain. Subject: Tokyo Shipment EDA Update. My name was gone, replaced by alpes@company.com and, of course, Jacob. When I tried replying to loop myself back in, the email thread suddenly stopped updating, like my own company had shadow banned me. I sat frozen at my desk, a slow, creeping dread crawling up my spine. Something was shifting, not abruptly, but steadily. I was quietly being erased. Every few days, someone from marketing or sales would swing by. "Hey, heard Tokyo loved your presentation. That was all you, right?" I'd nod, wearing a calm smile, as if I wasn't noticing my name slowly evaporating from every meeting invite. The worst part, the real knife twist, was how friendly everyone stayed. My manager still asked cheerfully about my weekend, still sent thumbs-up emojis when I submitted early reports, and still used my name in Slack as if I mattered, while simultaneously pulling away the actual responsibilities that proved I did. Then Jacob began appearing at my desk twice a day. "Quick question," he'd say, holding up his laptop like evidence at a trial. "When they say, yoroshiku onegai shimasu and otsukare-sama desu in the same meeting, what's the difference?" I wanted to say, one means, "looking forward to working with you," and the other is roughly, "good job, let's wrap this up." Instead, I gave him the sanitized corporate translation, complete with cultural context, sparing him and the company humiliation. Meanwhile, my name began disappearing from our internal translation notes. Shared documents became read only. Comments once assigned directly to me were now marked Team Japan Ops, a fancy title for Jacob and our director, who once genuinely asked if Japanese people bowed so often just because of movies. Then, late one afternoon, I noticed a file in our shared drive titled Tokyo Client Transition Plan. No author, no summary. I clicked. Access denied. I laughed out loud, an abrupt, harsh sound that echoed across the quiet office, startling an intern who glanced up nervously as though I'd just announced bad news at a birthday party. That evening, I didn't leave angry. I left quietly, the calm stillness you feel right before a storm arrives. I didn't need to scream to prove my worth. My absence would speak volumes soon enough. The meeting invite hit my inbox the next morning like an insult gift wrapped in corporate jargon. Quick check-in. Performance alignment. No agenda, no context. Just HR and management CC'd. Corporate speak for, "we're about to politely shove you out the door." I smiled. They didn't realize silence was my strongest language. It was a surprise meeting at 2 p.m. HR had looped in my manager and someone from employee success. Every corporate vet knows that's code for, "you're about to get politely smothered with a throw pillow." I showed up with a notebook and pen, out of habit more than hope. They were already there. My manager sat on the left, HR on the right, both pretending this was just a casual check-in, as if I'd stopped by for coffee and career advice, not a corporate execution behind a conference room curtain. "Thanks for making time," HR said cheerfully, as if I had a choice. "We just wanted to touch base." My manager folded his hands, channeling a sitcom dad about to ground his kid for joyriding the minivan. "There's been some feedback." I blinked. Feedback. Nothing major, I hoped. If you want to hear more stories of quiet strength, hard-won justice, and surprising comebacks, please subscribe and join our community, because the next chapter is just beginning, and you won't want to miss a moment. HR jumped in, already smoothing the edges. "We want to make sure you're feeling aligned with the team. Lately, there's been concern that your role has become overly siloed, especially around the Tokyo account." Siloed. I repeated the word like tasting spoiled milk. The same Tokyo account I'd managed flawlessly for 5 years without a single escalation. This wasn't about performance. My manager was quick to say, "You've been instrumental. It's more about collaboration. We've heard from several colleagues that working with you has become challenging, that you tend to control the process." "I speak Japanese," I said flatly, calm as a blade resting on a table. "I don't control the process. I translate it. I broaden someone who thinks arigato is a type of noodle." They exchanged a glance. The practiced micro-expression HR trains for. Sympathetic, but firm. The look of people who've already signed the paperwork behind your back. That's not the point, HR said, eyes glued to her script. We believe you may thrive better in an environment that allows more autonomy, where your skills can be more fully appreciated. There it was, the corporate breakup speech. It's not you, it's the org chart. My pen clicked shut in my hand. We'd like to offer you a generous severance, HR continued, sliding a manila envelope toward me like a severed finger in a mob movie. Standard NDA terms. 1 month's pay, extended COBRA. Exit marked as voluntary. A smooth transition. I didn't touch it. What happens if I don't sign? Then we proceed with formal termination. No severance. And your access will be revoked immediately. So polite. So surgical. The way they gut you and hand you a Band-Aid stamped with their initials. I leaned back in my chair, eyes locked on them. HR's practiced empathy. My manager, suddenly transfixed by a hangnail on his thumb. You're cutting off your only translator because you can't handle being questioned, I said, voice steady. And you're handing one of our largest international accounts to a guy who relies on Google Translate and crossed fingers. We're restructuring, he murmured, barely meeting my gaze. Restructuring? I echoed. No, you believe in obedience. I hadn't folded when I discovered 3 phantom trips to Tokyo billed to a client who never signed off. Their silence was so loud it filled the room, like another presence sitting between us. HR cleared her throat. This is an illegal discussion. Good, I said, standing, because lawyers bill more than I do. I didn't slam the door, didn't yell or make a scene. I walked out like a woman carrying her own execution file. Back at my desk, I tapped the keyboard once. Locked out. Logged off. Outlook disappeared. My name might still grace that glass plaque on the shelf, but in their system, I was already a ghost. I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't hurl a chair through the window like some caffeine-fueled LinkedIn drama. I left with spine straight, expression balanced somewhere between polite boredom and the mild panic of realizing I left the stove on. Not a word to the team. Not even when Jacob gave me that sheepish, apologetic half-wave as I passed. Like we shared a joke neither of us could laugh at. My badge still granted elevator access. I took the long ride down, eyes fixed on the blinking floor numbers. Around me, coworkers chatted about lunch. I listened to each ding like it was a countdown. By the time the lobby door slid open, I'd made my decision. I wasn't going quietly. Not really. The night before, a gut feeling tugged deep. While they laid the groundwork to push me out, I was laying mine. I logged in remotely, accessing the entire client communications archive. Emails, call transcripts, translation logs with Tokyo. I didn't take everything, just the threads that mattered. Untranslated memos marked priority, marked as read by people who couldn't tell a haiku from a haiku machine gun. Internal notes marked as reviewed, but never actually addressed. Calls where I flagged serious concerns about shipping delays, only to be ghosted while management pushed their streamlining agenda. 3 memos from Keiko, Tokyo's procurement director, each written in formal, precise Japanese, all left unanswered. No follow-up, no action. 1 memo specifically requested confirmation on budget overages from Q2, the same quarter I raised questions about during the last staff meeting. That email had been sitting, untouched, for over 2 months. No reply, no translation. It was marked low priority by a project manager who once genuinely asked if Tokyo was ahead or behind us in time because of the equator. I saved every one of those messages. I zipped them into a folder and named it something only I would understand. Shikaraganai.zip. A phrase that roughly means, it can't be helped. A cultural shrug. But not the kind that lets things slide. The kind that says, you're about to endure this, and you will endure it strategically. I transferred the entire folder to a personal drive. Encrypted. Twice. Then deleted my digital footprints like a surgeon carefully suturing their own wound. When I handed in my badge, I smiled at the front desk clerk. Off to better things, I said casually. He gave me a confused thumbs up. I don't think he realized I was walking away for good. Outside, The sky was a cold gunmetal gray, smelling faintly of distant rain. I stood there for a moment, watching the traffic blur by, phone in one hand, coffee in the other. My inbox was gone, my login credentials nuked. But the real damage wasn't what they took from me. It was what they left behind. See, here's the thing about being the translator. You don't just understand what people say. You know what they mean. You can tell the difference between a nod and a silence, between polite disapproval and quiet fury. More importantly, you know when someone feels disrespected. Tokyo hadn't felt heard in months, and now the only voice they trusted had been erased, like a typo in a critical contract. Fine. Let them find out what it's like to talk to Japan without subtitles. The best revenge, I realized, isn't always sabotage or spectacle. Sometimes it's the sound of nothing, echoing down a boardroom line as the contract renewal deadline looms and no one on your side dares ask, "Do we still have a deal?" I tossed my coffee into the trash, smiling faintly as it hit. That night, I went home and sat on the floor of my small apartment in sweatpants and silence. My laptop perched on an old IKEA table that wobbled every time I touched it. A frozen traitor. Joe's meal steamed quietly in the microwave. My real inbox, the personal one, blinked with junk mail, bills, and one unopened thread that had sat idle for months. The subject line was in Japanese. "Let's go together." The translation? "Let's meet again someday." It was from Nayako Sato, Director of International Strategy at our Tokyo client's headquarters. I first met her during a typhoon delay layover at Narita Airport. We shared a cold soba bowl and a heated argument about logistics, merdetta. Since then, every call had been a blend of sharp negotiation and sly jokes about American coffee. I hovered over her contact, fingers hesitating, not from doubt, but from calculation. There's an art to timing. You don't want to sound desperate or petty. You want to sound informative. So I wrote, subject, for your reference, Nayako-san. Dear Nayako-san, I hope this message finds you well. I am no longer with company name, but before formally stepping away, I wanted to share some documents that may help clarify lingering questions from Q2 and Q3 communications. Please find attached a folder titled Your Questions Answered. It contains untranslated memos, correspondence logs, and budget details I believe were not escalated properly. For obvious reasons, I will not be involved in future correspondence, but I gently suggest reconfirming any decisions regarding Q4 logistics directly. With deepest respect and thanks for our years of collaboration, my name, Independent Translation Advisor, no drama. No, I'll show them. Just a neat click, like a chess move you know will take 5 turns to checkmate. Then I logged into Slack. The office channel was quiet. Jacob had posted about running point on the Japan client this week, flexed biceps emoji, tagged the whole ops team. No replies. I scrolled to the Tokyo channel. My name was still there next to half a dozen unread messages, all in Japanese, all ignored. I clicked the gear icon, chose Leave Channel, then typed one final message, "Thank you for the honor. I suggest reconfirming Q4 logistics directly." I added a bowing emoji, simple, precise, like a blade wiped clean. Then I left. No fanfare, no inbox pings, just sudden stillness. Like the final note of a performance only one person knew was ending. Back in my kitchen, the microwave beeped. I didn't eat. Instead, I opened LinkedIn and updated my headline. From client operations liaison to something new. Independent consultant, cross-cultural communication strategy, fluent in Japanese. Let them see it. Let them feel it. Because I wasn't shouting. I was speaking fluent consequence. The first ripple hit 3 days later. An old coworker, one of the good ones, the kind who used to sneak me chocolate before big calls, forwarded me a screenshot. No commentary, just a silent offering. It was an internal email from the vice president of sales. Subject, urgent. Tokyo client inactive body. Has anyone heard back from Naoko or Hiroshi this week? Our last 2 check-ins went unanswered. Jacob said they joined the Zoom but dropped after 2 minutes and messaged in Japanese. Can we get translation support ASAP? We need clarity on Q4 deliverables. I read it twice. Then I smiled. The kind of smile that's all teeth and no warmth. The kind you wear when you watch a fire someone else started finally catch the curtains. I didn't reply. A day later, someone else looped me in, quietly, privately, a Slack message from a junior analyst. Hey, weird question. Are you still in touch with anyone from Tokyo? I think you still work here. They asked about your clarification on the Q2 billing. No one's sure what they're referring to. That made me laugh. Actual shoulders shaking, snorting through the nose laugh. Because that question, that helpless, tail between the legs confusion, is exactly what happens when you fire the translator and assume Google Docs can handle diplomacy. Meanwhile, over on their side, the Tokyo team shifted tone. Slowly, deliberately. Their email cadence dropped from daily to weekly. When they did reply, it was clipped, formal. No more emojis from Hiroshi, no more casual sounds good messages. Just traditional Keigo phrasing, the kind that wraps every sentence in layers of politeness so thick you can't tell if you're being thanked or told to disappear. Jacob apparently tried to bridge the gap by using ChatGPT to translate a follow-up. He told someone it came out as, "We honor your grandmother with great milk." That's when the Tokyo side stopped replying entirely. Internal threads multiplied like flies on roadkill. Has anyone gotten calendar confirmation for next month's review? Can someone explain why the project timeline hasn't been signed? Do we have another bilingual on standby? Jacob struggling with nuance. Nuance. Yeah, that's one way to say he signed off a budget email with delicious meal. It means thanks for the meal, not we approve your quarterly spend. By Friday, I heard they reached out to a freelance interpreter who once filled in during a scheduling conflict. She declined. Word was spreading. Quietly, professionally. The kind of corporate whisper network that travels faster than a press release and hits harder than an invoice. They still hadn't realized I was the one who planted the seed. They assumed Tokyo was just being difficult. That was their first mistake. Their second was thinking silence meant safety. But silence, especially in Japan, isn't passive. It's pressure. It's a countdown. It's the pause before refusal, the grace before no. And I knew Naoko. She wasn't ignoring them. She was preparing. The invite hit my inbox on a quiet Thursday evening, sandwiched between a dental appointment confirmation and a 15% off coupon for cat litter. Subject: contract renewal meeting. Monday 9 a.m. JST, sent by Naoko Sato. Attendees: Hiroshi Ito, procurement lead, Kenji Watanabe, logistics strategy. And still, somehow, unbelievably, listed was me. Apparently, no one had updated their internal contacts. I stared at it for a full minute. The cursor blinked over the yes/no/maybe options. God, I wanted to click yes, just to watch the panic ripple backward through their boardroom like a fart in a sealed elevator. But I didn't. I didn't touch anything. I would have ruined the perfection. Instead, I sat back and stared at the words contract renewal carved into the surface of a guillotine. Because this wasn't just a meeting. This was the meeting. The moment all the polite silences, unanswered emails, and bilingual brush-offs came home to roost. And I knew what was coming. I knew how Tokyo worked. They wouldn't yell. They wouldn't threaten. They'd just not renew. And they wouldn't explain why. Because if they had to explain, it meant they thought someone was worth explaining to. I opened my old work emails mirror account. Yeah, I'd cloned it weeks ago. Don't ask how. Just know I was very thorough before walking out. There, buried in a panic thread titled Action Items. Urgent was the most delicious thing I'd seen all year. From Director of Client Accounts to all staff subject. Monday call. Need bilingual support immediately. Team, you need someone fluent in Japanese on standby for the Tokyo contract. Renewal Zoom this Monday morning. Sunday evening, U.S. time. Our regular liaison is no longer with the company and communications have become increasingly difficult. Nayako-san confirmed the meeting, but the agenda was a mystery. Jacob was doing his best, but comprehension was a serious blocker. A really serious blocker. Like, the only person who truly understood your client is gone kind of blocker. Like you fired your Rosetta Stone to save on salary, and now you're stuck playing charades with a billion-yen contract kind of blocker. One reply stood out. A junior manager asked, "Should we reach out to my name?" Even unofficially. The answer came fast and clear. Absolutely not. That chapter is closed. Perfect. They were about to walk into a meeting with no translator, no context, and no clue. The agenda said contract renewal, but what it really meant was Judgment Day. Here's the thing about Nayako. She doesn't play games. When she schedules something under that title, it's not to negotiate terms, it's to deliver decisions. I closed my laptop, poured a glass of wine, and stared at the rain tapping softly against my window. Each drop sounded like a countdown tick. 3 days. 3 days until they learned what silence sounds like when it finally speaks. The call opened at 7 p.m., Eastern sharp. Jacob had ironed his shirt. You could tell because the collar was stiff in a way that screamed, "I tried." 3 other faces appeared from our U.S. team. Sales Director Dana, eyes glazed from too many Zooms. VP of Operations, chewing his lip like it owed him money. And someone from legal who looked like he'd rather be buried in a hole with no Wi-Fi. They tried to look confident, professional, like they were about to negotiate, not beg. Then, right on time, Tokyo joined. Nayako appeared first. Her video background was a soft gradient of pale gold, the minimalist aesthetic Americans mistake for Zen, but actually screams, "We are more prepared than you will ever be." Hiroshi joined seconds later, nodding politely. Kenji followed, expression calm, unreadable. Then came the moment. Dana leaned forward, all teeth. "Thank you for joining us today, Nayako-san. We're very excited to review the revised contract and ensure alignment moving forward." Nayako blinked, tilted her head, and spoke, in perfect, measured Japanese. "First, thank you for your time today." Jacob stiffened, nodded too hard. "Yes," he said. "Just, yes." Nayako continued, slowly, purposefully. She outlined a 5-minute summary of concerns, metrics, and internal assessments, none of which anyone on our side understood. Her tone never shifted. Her gaze never faltered. She spoke with the polite finality of a surgeon delivering a terminal diagnosis. Hiroshi added 2 brief sentences. Kenji closed his binder. Dana cleared her throat. "I'm sorry. Would it be possible to... could we get a translation?" Jacob asked, voice trembling. Nayako smiled, the kind of smile that belongs in a museum. Cool, immaculate, completely detached from the awkward twitching of the Americans and their frozen video boxes. "My apologies," she said. "Since there appears to be no interpreter," she continued, bowing her head gracefully, "let us conclude here for today." Hiroshi nodded and followed suit. Kenji said nothing. Then, click, Tokyo vanished. The call hung in stunned, pixelated silence. No one spoke. Jacob looked like someone had just unplugged him. Dana muttered, Was there no... The VP of Ops opened his mouth, then closed it again. Not a blink for a full 10 seconds. Legal coughed. And then, as if trying to conjure normalcy from nuclear ash, Jacob forced a smile. "Well, that could have gone worse, right?" No one laughed. Because it couldn't have. They'd just been handed a rejection letter, written in a language they couldn't read, delivered live, wrapped in civility. And here's the cruelest part. No one even raised their voice. Tokyo let silence do the talking. It didn't feel like a firing. It felt like being forgotten mid-sentence. 2 months later, while sipping lukewarm tea in my favorite corner of a quiet cafe with peeling paint and bad jazz, my phone lit up. A push notification from Nikki Asia. Mitsui Tech announces strategic U.S. consultant partner to streamline Trans-Pacific logistics. The article was brief, polished, professional. Just a few lines about an American liaison specializing in Japanese market integration. Someone fluent in both language and business culture, now the sole point of contact for all future U.S. communications. No company name, just a title. But on LinkedIn, where masks are thinner, it hit harder. Independent liaison for international clients' strategic bridge between East and West. A single update. New role at Mitsui Tech. Independent strategic consultant partner. The word partner wasn't decorative or corporate fluff. It meant I wasn't on their payroll. I was on their level. Back at my old company, the fallout calcified into rumor. Tokyo never responded to the revised proposal. No goodbye, no call, no reply. Just slow, reversible ghosting, with every project file untouched and every Slack message dangling like a spiderweb in a hurricane. They tried replacing me with a language agency. That lasted a week. They tried reaching out to Nayako through back channels. No auto reply. One morning, in a glass-walled meeting room with my plaque gathering dust, an HR rep read the article. She muttered, half to herself, "We should have just kept her." But I wasn't theirs to keep anymore. See, that's what they never understood. I wasn't just translating words. I was translating trust. And once that's broken, no amount of money, panic, or desperate Google translations will bring it back. I didn't post about it. I didn't gloat. I didn't block them. If you followed my story this far, thank you for being here with me. It wasn't easy being pushed aside after years of dedication, but your support means everything. Drop a comment below. Share your own experiences or words of encouragement. Remember, in life, when doors close, it's not the end, but a chance to find a better path. Stay resilient, trust your voice, and never let anyone erase your worth. Together, we rise.